Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about a 1952 Argentine movie called The Beast Must Die. Really eager to share some of my thoughts and describe what this Flicker Alley Blu-ray is like. It's one of the films that the Film Foundation has restored, or they provided the funding for the restoration along with some other groups, but it's basically impelled by Eddie Muller and at the Film Noir Foundation. He contributes an essay and also a visual intro to the movie, and it's just a superb glimpse into another culture's film history. I think it may be the first Argentine film I've ever seen in my life, and but it's based on a British mystery novel written by Nicholas Blake. And I'm not going to describe the plot too much. I'll just give you the basic setup, which that is about a mystery writer whose young son is killed by a hit-and-run driver. This driver is the beast of the title. He leaves the boy in serious condition, and it's implied that if he was helped, he might have survived the accident. The police can't track down the car. The mystery writer is traumatized beyond belief, and then he decides that he himself is going to track down the driver, the killer, with the idea of killing him. And it has very delightful structure to it. And I believe it's different than the novel, according to the supplements, and in that we see the climax of the film in the first scene, and then we go to a flashback of all the events leading up to the climax, and then the events that happen after the climax. It was directed by Roman Vanoli Barreto, and he was basically a theater director. He was Uruguayan, so he had his own theater company in Montevideo. Now, the Argentine film industry was thriving in the 1950s, and they had a setup very similar to like Warner Brothers, 20th Century Fox. The production company that made this film was Sono Films, and they had huge sound stages. They had all the equipment necessary. And they allowed, and like some of the American companies, they allowed their best directors to make some personal projects as long as they also made some commercial assigned projects. And This Beast Must Die is one of Barreto's personal projects. And Flicker Alley, who releases this film, also released Bitter Stems, which was Barreto's follow-up the following year, which is a adaptation of Fritz Lang's M. And the star, who you can see in the red part here of the cover, this is Narciso Ibáñez Menta, and he was a very famous actor from the time he was a child. He is from Spain, and he became, in the Spanish-speaking world, big star on the theater as a child actor and then as a teenager, but mostly in the theater. And his first love, as with Barreto, is the theater. You can see it in the performances. I mean, these are really well thought out performances. Menta's idol was Lon Chaney, who he actually got to meet, and Chaney told him to act from the inside. And he played, and Menta played all kinds of roles. He was noted as being a horror film actor, and later on in TV, he made sort of like Twilight Zone series on television. And in the supplements, we get an interview with Barreto's son, and this is just magnificent. This is really in depth. Barreto's son was about 10 years old when This Beast Must Die, and he has very vivid recollections of being on the set in certain scenes. And in this interview, we learned that in Argentina, there is no restoration. There is no National Cinematheque Nothing is being preserved. And the interviewer, obviously friends with Eddie Muller, recommended these two movies. And Eddie Muller showed both The Beast Must Die and Bitter Stems on his Noir Alley on TCM a few months ago. And we also get a commentary by Guido Segal. This is very good as well because we get all the context of the movie. And when you're watching the movie, you think, what are they, is this supposed to be set in Britain? Because the signs are all in English, the people are driving on the right-hand side of the road. The names of the characters, I think, come right out of the book. And the house where the Beast is tracked down to be living in is a Tudor house. So it was very British influence, and indeed this was a film that was meant to be modeled on sort of the British cinema of the time. We also get a terrific booklet. I mean, this is just a beautiful booklet. That's the original poster art for the film in Argentina, and that is Laura Hidalgo, who was Menta's wife at the time, and boy, she's sensational. She's described in the supplements as maybe a little bit Ava Gardner, Hedy Lamarr, but she was Romanian, so we have a Uruguayan, somebody from Spain, somebody from Romania. This is just like in Hollywood, where we had so many Europeans working in Hollywood, mostly because of their need to escape from the Nazis and from Hitler. The Argentine cinema, which was thriving, utilized people from all around the world. In fact, Beretta was he had his own theater company in Montevideo, but they didn't have the film industry, which was non-existent in Uruguay. Was because it was thriving so much, they needed directors, even though he had never directed a movie. He had a big reputation as a theater director, so he was recruited to start making films in Argentina. And in this, a lot of great shots, and you might wonder, who is Nicholas Blake? He was a very famous mystery writer, but in real life, or that was a pen name for Cecil Day Lewis. And here is a photograph of Cecil Day Lewis with his family. I think that's Jill Bacon, his second wife. And you might recognize this fellow right here because that is his son. His son is the famous actor Daniel Day-Lewis. So, so Cecil, just in the movie, the mystery writer is also a non-diplom because his full-time job, I believe, he's a famous mathematician, and he writes mysteries under another name, and nobody connects the two together. Just as Cecil Day Lewis was writing under Nicholas Blake. And there's all kinds of great shots in here, and this is Menta, and he's basically playing two parts. He's playing who he really is, and then he's playing this other character with a beard. And we learned that beards were totally out of fashion in Argentina at that time, so it was a big shock for the audience to see Menta with a beard. And here's a shot of Laura Hidalgo and Menta together in a restaurant, and you see this unusual hat. And we learned in the supplements that the Argentine film industry had their own Edith Head, who just designed spectacular clothes, and Laura Hidalgo is just the fantastic outfits she has on. And here's one more shot of them together. And again, in real life, they were man and wife at this time. So I'm going to get Bitter Stems to be sure. And there's other Film Foundation movies, restorations that are available through Flickr Alley. I know Too Late for Tears is one of them, and there's a new one coming out, Repeat Performance, I think, which was, sort of considered a lost film, recently shown on TCM with Eddie Muller's Noir Alley. So I have a bit. This has caused a big appetite for Bitter Stems and more Argentine movies. You know, I don't know. I'm just so curious as to how movies develop in other parts of the world that I don't know anything about. And at the same time, the Mexican film industry was thriving as well in the 1950s. And outside of Louis Buñuel's movies, I know nothing about the Mexican film production movies from there. But the other appetite I got was for Claude Chabrol's 1974 adaptation of this same novel, which in America at least was called This Man Must Die. It's one of the Chabrols from 1965, 66 to 75 that are unavailable in on Blu-ray, and they are some of his greatest films. So hopefully someday This Man Must Die will get a I don't know what's holding them up, but hopefully someday that one will get a restoration and a U.S. I don't think it's available in the U.K. either, perhaps in France. Okay, that'll wrap this one up. Thanks a lot for everybody who listened to me this far. I appreciate it very much. Comments are very welcome. You guys take care.